Hello students, this is Crystal Mundell, a former ATA of Biology Lab. Here is a short instructional video on how to properly use a compound light microscope. The microscope is now plugged in, but before we can turn on the microscope, there are a few things that we have to take care of first. First of all, we have to make sure that the correct objective is rotated into position. Always start off with the lowest power objective first. This is the 4x objective, which is color-coded with a red ring. Be careful that you do not, when rotating the 4x objective into position, take care that there is a sufficient amount of space between the stage and the objective. Otherwise, there's the danger of crashing the other objective into the stage. So rotate the 4x objective into position and then use the coarse focus knob, the big one on the side, to raise the stage to the highest position, and you will notice that the stage blocks and cannot be rotated further, and there is still sufficient space between the slide stage and the objective, so there's no danger of crashing the stage into the objective here. Next, have a look beneath the stage, and beneath the stage you can see the condenser, and the condenser can be raised and lowered by turning a knob or lever. Make sure the condenser is raised all the way towards the top. We have just raised the condenser to the topmost position, and now it's time to adjust the condenser aperture diaphragm. Here in front, there is a horizontal lever that can be moved towards the left and towards the right. And for focusing, it's best if you move the lever all the way to the right, towards the position which is labeled 0.1. It's the lowest position over here, and by moving it all the way to this position, we both increase the depth of field and we also increase the contrast. So this makes focusing much easier later on when we use the higher magnification objectives. It may be useful to move the lever further to the left because this increases the light intensity somewhat. Please remember that this lever is not used to control light intensity. It does change light intensity, but this should be only seen as a side effect. This lever is important for adjusting contrast and depth of field, but should not be used for adjusting light intensity. For right now, we move it all the way towards the right. Educational microscopes either have a binocular head, there are only two eyepieces, or a monocular head, where there is only one eyepiece. Now, if you have a binocular attached to the microscope, then there is the possibility of adjusting one eyepiece by rotating the eyepiece at the base here. And this is for adjusting for the different vision that you may have on your left or your right eye. Some people have one eye which is worse than the other eye, and this one is used to compensate for this difference. And if you're using glasses or contact lenses while using the microscope, it should be set to 0. If your two eyes are different from each other and you do not use glasses or contact lenses, then it may be necessary to adjust for the different vision by rotating one of these eyepieces here. When placing a slide on the stage, just make sure it's moved all the way in. Do not try to fix this slide here at the front. Okay, it's very unstable. Make sure that you moved it all the way in. Okay. So number 1 and number 2, you use and then the mechanical stage by turning the two knobs on the side to center the specimen. You center the specimen by turning these two knobs here on the side. If you turn the top one, you're moving the stage in forward and backward. And if you turn the bottom knob, then you are moving the stage sideways. Actually, you are not moving the stage at all. You are just moving this slide holder here at the top. And you have to make sure that the specimen is properly centered, and many beginners forget about this, and they attempt to look at the slide label or other parts of the slide, and then they are surprised that they cannot see anything. So always make sure it's centered. Okay, we are now ready to go. We can turn on the microscope. Always make sure that the light intensity is set all the way to low before flicking the main power switch. This is to prevent the light bulb from receiving a high electric voltage, the cold light bulb receiving a high length voltage, which may actually break the light bulb. So we turn the light intensity all the way to the low and flick the switch, and then I gradually raise the light intensity. I increase the light intensity with the low power objective in place right now, and the stage raised all the way to the top. I'm now going to look through the microscope, and I'm now going to lower the stage until the specimen is in focus. Okay, now it's in focus. Then I re-centered the specimen using the mechanical stage, and I can switch to the next higher power. From now on, I'm always going to use the fine focus knob. That's the small one over here. Otherwise, there is the danger that I'm crashing the slide into the objective if I use the big one here, okay? So always use the small fine focus when using the higher powered objectives, so I'm not going to refocus the specimen. I can recenter it a little bit, and then I'm going to switch again to the next higher power. I use only the fine focus knob, and the high power objectives also require me to open up the condenser aperture diaphragm a little bit. So I do that at the same time the light intensity is also increased. So you may have to decrease the light intensity over here again. I recenter. I'm now able to focus through different layers of the specimen by turning the fine focus knob, and then I'm switching over to the next higher power. Okay, I recenter, I refocus, and I'm also going to adjust the condenser up with your diaphragm again a little bit. And at a higher power right now, the light intensity is already quite low, so I may have to increase the light intensity over here again a little bit. Okay, so this is basically how it works before looking at the different specimen slide. I would recommend that you turn the revolver over here to reposition the low power objective, and then you can remove the slide safely and replace it with a different slide. We are now going to have a look at the same procedure through a camera. Seen at 4x objective, it may be out of focus, yet follow procedure as followed previously and adjust accordingly. Here's what you may see at 4x power objective, 10x power objective, and 40x power objective. And at 100x power objective, make sure to use immersion oil in future lab courses. Thank you so much for listening, and keep rewatching until you've mastered the basic skills of preparing slides on a compound light microscope.